Rick, Mike LaPresti, NCAA.com. Obviously, no matter who you'd be playing would be a big game in a Sweet 16 round. How important is it that your guys ignore the noise that goes on in your state when this happens?
I think they've done that. We've gotten used to the noise, so we understand what's at stake. I've said it many times. I've been in the state 20 years, and the game to me has really only had difficult consequences for the loser twice. Once was 2 years ago when they stopped our run in the Final Four, and the next game we play.
Right. Myron Metcalf, ESPN.com. Coach, can you talk about just the matchup zone and how that's changed your defense, over these last couple of months?
Well, we haven't really played as much matchup zone as we did 2 years ago. I think we've gone from 80-20 to 50-50 to 80-20 man, so we haven't played a whole lot of it this year.
Right up here in front.
Rick, Eddie Pels from AP. Quick two-parter. One, do you think college athletes are employees? And two, is there a right or wrong way to run an athletic program, like especially when you're looking at the kind of one-and-done thing over at Kentucky and other schools who bring players and keep them for a while?
First question, answer it honestly, I haven't really thought about it. It's the first time with Northwestern that I even thought about it. Second question is, I think everybody plays under the same set of rules. So, if they have players for 1 year and that's the rules, you just live with it. And if not, you go to 2 or whatever number it may be. Everybody has a magic number. Being 8 years in the NBA, I understand the union, the Players Association, and until the new collective bargaining agreement comes around, it's really only rhetoric right now.
Right here.
Brett Dawson with Rivals.com. Rick, there was so much talk in the beginning of the year about this being the year of the freshmen. So many of those guys who got so much of the hype are gone. What, if anything, does it say about Kentucky's guys or the way John Calipari coaches freshmen that they're still here?
2 weeks ago, I was asked by the Louisville media, what did I think of the rumors of John going back to the pros? And I said, well, why would you say something like that? Because they lost the game. So I don't. He's one of the premier coaches in our game, has always been. The thing that I remember most about John, because I've known him since he's 15, is he always didn't have one-and-dones. He had a team at Massachusetts, and I knew where he took them from to today. And he had the least amount of talent on the court when he went out there and started taking, and he didn't play an easy schedule. He had to take a lot of people on to get Massachusetts in the limelight. So I've seen all stages of John's career. And, so it doesn't surprise me that they're playing well at this time. It was a great game the other night by both teams. I know how good Wichita is. Now, they're a much better offensive team this year than they were last year. They were a much better, probably, defensive team. But Wichita State's a great basketball team. And Kentucky beat a great basketball team.
Right here.
Coach, can you talk about, or Terry Hutchins of Scout.com, can you talk about your own Sweet 16 success, and is that just speak for how well your teams are playing at this time of the year?
I think so. I think more than anything else, you have a lot of preparation time this week, and you try your best to figure out a team. This is probably one of the more difficult ones that I have faced as a coach, because they have so many weapons that are playing well right now. And we understand what we're up against. But, I can tell you very honestly and with all humility that I know Kentucky in that locker room are not worried about my resume. They're worried about Russ Smith, Luke Hancock, and Montrezl Harrell. So because every game is different that you play. And I know we have a very good basketball team. They have a very good basketball team. It should be a heck of a game.
Back over here.
Going back to that first game, is there anything you can take away from that you apply to tomorrow?
Well, we had Shane Bohannon back then. He didn't play real well, but we had him in that game. And I think they're a much better basketball team today, and I think we're a much better basketball team today. And you would expect that because those games are always played so early.
All right, Nancy was next.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Rick, as a follow-up to the question about players' ages, knowing what you know from the pros and colleges, what would you like to see?
The players' agents? Ages.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many arguments. I heard John make the argument that he's not for the kids going out of high school because, and he's right on this, the greatest thing about the 1 year not going out of high school is I see the academic progress of high school 8th graders, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors paying so much more attention to their academic part of their life. This is going to sound strange, but I could probably name in their minds 50 9th and 10th graders right now, if there was no one-and-done rule, that would think that they're capable of going right out of high school and they would not pay attention to their academic standards because they, without question, they're going pro, as well as some of their families. So there is some good about the one-and-done in terms of the academic standards getting better. I think in the best of all worlds, me personally, I would like to see exactly what football has. And, you know, I'm not against, with the exception of what I just said, I'm not against kids going out of high school into the D-League if they want to choose that. But I know their academic standards would suffer because so many guys that couldn't play in the D-League would not pay attention to their academic work. So there's an argument for and against every situation. But I think right now there are so many people that think the one and done is not the correct way. So it's not for me to argue, it's for the NBA and the NCAA to bring about the arguments, what's best for the student athlete.
Right here.
Rick, you mentioned knowing John since he was like 15. How would you kind of characterize your relationship, and what do you think drives the perception that it could be cold sometimes?
Well, I don't care about perception because perception is not reality. We're friends. We respect each other's programs very much. And we're friends in this business. And I certainly have great respect for what they're accomplishing right now. But it really doesn't matter what perception is because perception is not reality in this world.
Right here.
Coach, Greg Eklund is for Public Radio here in Indy. I know you're concentrating on your team, but knowing the whole history of the triangle between Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana, how surprised were you that there was no team from the state of Indiana in the original 68-team field?
You're right. I'm not thinking of that at all.
Right here.
Different sort of question. Ben Strauss from the New York Times. Your son is advancing in the NIT tournament and going to New York. What have you seen from him this year? Just the job he's done, and what was it like going up there with your other son, you know, dressed as a chicken?
It's been an absolutely wonderful year watching him develop as a coach. I really thought he even did a better job at Florida International. He was 2 points away. That program was decimated academically and athletically. He was starting walk-ons that were in top 5 categories in steals. And he's made it a lot of fun for the guys on the team. And I love seeing that. And I love seeing the way he's handled himself, his competitive nature. And now he's going to the finals of Madison Square Garden, where he grew up as a young boy, being a ball boy with the New York Knicks. So I know it's a great treat for him. It's exciting for me to see. And not in a chicken suit. I will take many trips to Minnesota.
Coach, Zach Osterman from the Indianapolis Star. There's been a lot of talk, particularly I think in this tournament, about the expansion of video replay and the way it's changed the ends of games with a lot of sort of start and stop as officials try to check the monitors. What are your thoughts on how it has changed, kind of how you handle those last 2 minutes when there's more checking the monitor, and how do you as a coach use those breaks to your advantage while maybe making sure that guys, you know, don't lose focus or don't lose sort of the edge they have?
Well, sometimes it's an extra timeout. Certainly, you get to huddle your team. I would think that one of the things I would do, I think if I had it, I wouldn't, while they're checking it, and they do take a long time because they want to get it right, I would make the team stay away from the bench and not huddle with the coach because it's an extra timeout. I would make them not go in with the coach. They would have to go to the other side of the floor and let them check the monitor. so it's not an advantage in terms of a timeout. That's the only thing. I like it a lot because it gets it right. I lost a game at Pittsburgh where it was off the wrong person, and we lost the game.
Back here.
Chris Hagan, Fox here in Indianapolis. Coach, I asked Pacers head coach and UK grad Frank Vogel who he'd be rooting for in this matchup, and he said, "Go Cards." Owing that, of course, to you. What is your relationship still like with Coach Vogel, and how proud are you of his success?
I'm extremely proud of Frank. You know, he's done it the right way, worked his way up the right way, was one of the best workers I've ever seen in my lifetime, knew how to do it, is doing a fabulous job there. And he told me last year at a game, he said, "Coach, we're going to get back and we're going to win this darn thing." And although he carries himself very humbly, he has great confidence in the Pacers and what they're going to do. So I'm super excited. I'm a big Pacer fan. I'm very excited to see what he's doing.
Right here.
Coach, Sean Powell, Sports on Earth. Could you briefly discuss when you first met Cal? And also, when you coached...
Briefly discuss, I'm sorry?
When you first met Cal.
First met who?
When you first met Coach Calipari.
And the second part of that question is, when you two are coaching together in a state like Kentucky in basketball, does it hurt, help, or have no effect on your relationship with him?
You know, I think it hurts a little bit because, you know, you all bait and try to get certain answers out of us. And if John says, you know, I like a certain thing, some people think he's taking a shot at me or vice versa. It's really not. We've talked about it together about that. You know, he's the total opposite of me with social media, and I know he believes in it, and he knows I don't believe in it. So we're not taking sides on that. Tom Izzo doesn't believe in it, and maybe somebody else does. So we understand what takes place between the lines. We understand the fans' intensity, but we don't personalize our battles. We understand what it's all about. The best team's going to win.
When did you first meet?
I first met him probably when he was 14 or 15 years of age as a camper at the 5-star camp.
Questions for Coach Pitino? Seeing none, thank you, Coach.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you tomorrow.